I can't even begin to tell you how many hours I've spent already this summer dragging this water hose along, and like many of you, I'm not looking forward to my next water bill. And I'm really not ready either to go ahead and install an irrigation system, even though I know it's a good investment. But I've gone ahead and started the process by putting in some drip irrigation in my raised bed vegetables and a perennial border plant. Now my cost so far has only been about $100, and if you look at all the integral pieces, it looks very complicated, but actually it's very simple. And one reason for that is because of the manufacturers, including with the systems, design and really very basic instructions to give you pictures and step-by-step instructions. And really the first thing you want to remember is a backflow connector, or what is called an anti-siphon connector, and this hooks right onto the water faucet. That's how I'm doing mine, right off the water faucet. And this keeps air from going back in the main water line, or if you're using fertilizer, it keeps fertilizer, and it's very important to have that on. It's required commercially and an option here, but I'd still encourage it because it's very inexpensive. And that would then hook on to your next part, which is the filter system. And there are several options on this one too. This particular one is a little more expensive, but the particles of sand that come through your water will collect in the filter, and you can also put fertilizer tablets in this one. You can then put on the next part, which is a pressure regulator, and you definitely need this because if you turn your pressure up on your water faucet too much, you can snap or pop the little connector, so you need that pressure regulator. And of course, that's probably one of the most expensive parts, and you can save cost a little bit or cut cost by going a little bit cheaper grade of filter systems that go right in, or even little inserts. But obviously you don't want to save too much on that because the emitters that you're putting on are real easy to clog. The orifices or the holes can be clogged with little particle of sand, so you want to be careful with that. But really the way that you put any of the pieces on your main half-inch tubing or header pipe is by little things that you just push holes in them, and it's real easy to do. And then the emitters will fit right in that, and you can screw them on, and there's different sizes for different gallons per hour. Now you have to always have an emitter though. The emitter can go right on the main line like this, or you can use emitters between spaghetti tubing. So if you have a row that branches off to the side, you can put one of these types at each plant. Or you can even use emitters that go on the main line and run the spaghetti tubing off and place those at the plants with little stakes like this. And what you would do is you'd have your emitter up here that regulates a gallon, and then you just put that at each plant. But somewhere in that process you have to have an emitter, and there's so many designs and choices that's really easy to find and adapt what you need. And of course the different connectors. Now the tubing that helps you spread out the system also comes in a little bit of variation, so check that because some of it's a little bit more flimsy and you don't want to cut corners there either. After you get through your design, at the very end of the main hose, you need to stop the flow obviously some way, and it's very simple. You can just buy a piece like this and bend it over and fold it right up in there, and that stops the flow of the main header. Or of course you can get pieces with caps that screw on where you can continue to connect them if you need to. Now right here in my raised bed, I run the filter and all the things up at the water faucet, the hose to this point here, and I just have a T, and then I go with an elbow, and you can see that here I've put an emitter at 2 gallons per hour every 15 inches, and I've alternated them so the other row, one is halfway in between. And when I leave this on long enough, an hour for 2 gallons of water at each site, I get good coverage here in the vegetable garden. And I put on 2 gallons because it's a little bit sandier soil and raised up, so it needs a little bit more water. On the perennial bed, you'll see that I have emitters right at plants. I have some that go to plants with spaghetti tubing, and then I have some of the emitters in between where I need to shoot it out a little bit longer. It really took me only about an hour to put this system together. Again, $100. If you're tired of moving that water hose, I promise if you'll go to any of the garden centers or even the non-traditional garden centers, there's good selection, easy to do for any type of home gardener, really a simple project. So I'd encourage you to check it out, and maybe that'll help make it more efficient on your watering this year, not only in cost, but also in your time, which is very valuable.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.